Right, we're joined now by British journalist Jon Offei-Ansah, who's the founder and publisher of Africa Briefing, a Pan-African news magazine based in London. A very good evening to you, Jon. Thank you so much for speaking to us. I mean, the British Prime Minister has told MPs that he's going to keep going despite the growing list of Conservative ministers and other officials resigning in protest over his handling of this case of a senior official accused of sexual misconduct. We've also heard reports that there is going to be a delegation of ministers that are sent to meet Johnson at Downing Street to ask him to go. Have you heard much of this? Is it happening at all?
Yes, actually, the ministerial and parliamentary delegation have already met with Boris Johnson, but asking him to live honorably, to live with dignity. But Johnson is digging his heels in, saying that he was elected into office by the British electorate. So it is only they, who can ask him to leave. But then, having said that, he is also not calling for a snap general election. So we have a stalemate here. And as you mentioned, as was mentioned in your report, there is this powerful backbench, conservative backbench parliamentary committee called the 1922 Committee, who have the power to instigate the removal of the Prime Minister. Already, Johnson faced a vote of no confidence a few months ago, which he won. And under the rules, once he's faced a vote of no confidence, another vote of no confidence motion could be tabled or passed within 12 months. But this 1922 committee has the power to amend the rules, right, and call for another vote of no confidence. But as it is now, the situation is very, very dire for Boris Johnson. And from where I'm sitting, there's no way out for him. I mean, it's a matter of days before he's forced to quit with indignity, if you like.
So he claims his leaving could leave the government in free fall for months, and that it could pose a risk to or rather increase the risk of the Lab SNP coalition leaving the Tories out of power for years. But you say there is this option of forcing him out. How would that be enacted?
Well, the 1922 committee, like I said earlier on, Boris Johnson faced a no confidence vote a few months ago, actually, sometime this year. And under the rules of the 1922 committee, he cannot face another no confidence vote within 12 months.
Okay.
Right, and like I said earlier on, the 1922 committee can amend the rules, because that's the look. So far, 38 ministers and aides have resigned, because they want to see Boris Johnson out. I mean, it is rather unprecedented, in my time as a journalist, 40 odd years as a journalist in this country. I've seen nothing like that. So it is very, very serious. So the 1922 committee, I think, will amend the rules to allow for another vote of no confidence, which, if it goes ahead, I'm sure this time, Boris Johnson will lose.
Right. So there are, according to some media reports, expectations of more resignations to put pressure on him. But I see an update that's literally just come in saying that Boris Johnson is planning a joint announcement tomorrow with Nadhim Zahawi, the new Chancellor. What are the expectations there? And also just speak to me about if more ministers step down, what does that leave him in? Does it leave him as a sitting duck in crisis?
Absolutely. I mean, should we see more resignations, ministerial resignations, right? Yes, it will leave him as a sitting duck. And like I said, there's no way I'm sure he will last, for the next month or so.
Okay, and this joint press briefing with the new Chancellor, what are your expectations then of, it's being said that he's planning to make an announcement tomorrow?
Well, Britain is going through, like many other countries around the globe, it's going through, some economic crisis. I mean, prices of fuel, prices of food, prices of energy. I mean, cost of living has generally increased, and they are taking the previous chancellor, the one who resigned yesterday, Rishi Sunak, took some measures to alleviate the sufferings of the ordinary British. And so I believe tomorrow's press conference with Boris Johnson and the new chancellor will actually maybe outline measures to help the ordinary Britain, alleviate the hardships they are going through.
I mean, I'm just looking at some of the reasons that Boris Johnson has apparently furnished these critics or those calling for him to step down. One of the things he's saying is that a minority Labour government would allow a second Scottish independence referendum, which could lead to the break of the UK. Are these the words of a desperate man who is seeking to use any means necessary to stay in power, or are these just legitimate issues that he's raising?
Well, I'm not sure. Listen, no British politician, I mean, outside of, most politicians in Scotland are not for a breakup of Britain as a breakup of UK, okay? So, and I'm not sure any incoming, Labour government would stand for Scottish independence. I mean, it's just an excuse. Look, it's just like a dying man, clutching at any straws he can just to survive. I'm not sure any incoming, should there be a change of government, and even if there's a change of government, I foresee a coalition, because I'm not sure the Labour the Labour Party, as it is, has enough support to win an outright majority. So if anything, it will be a coalition between the Labour Party and the Liberal Democrats, right? I'm not sure that coalition will stand for any new referendum on Scottish independence.
So far, I just want to look at the level of trust in the British Prime Minister. He and his supporters have downplayed the resignation, saying, oh, these are just local casualties. He said he can withstand another second vote of no confidence. But just looking at levels of trust here, Downing Street at first denied Johnson knew of prior allegations against Pincher when appointing him in February. After that, a former top civil servant said Johnson, as foreign minister, was told in 2019 about another incident involving his ally. Even some of Johnson's staunchest newspaper backers doubt whether he could survive the fallout. What are your thoughts about this, the trust deficit, and how much he can withstand further?
Listen, I mean, Boris Johnson has always had that trust deficit, even amongst the general electorate. But look, in my opinion, he was elected Tory leader, Conservative leader, and therefore the Prime Minister on the strength of his spearheading, Brexit, to get out of Europe. But a lot of people, look, he used to be a journalist, and he lost many jobs because he could not tell the truth. Okay, and it's not the first time. With this current situation, look, he appointed the deputy chief whip, knowing that the guy had some serious character flaws, right? So when this deputy chief whips, was exposed, okay, he denied that he knew his character flaws before appointing him as the deputy chief whip, right? Until a couple of days ago, he came out to admit that, yes, he appointed him deputy chief whip, knowing of his character flaws. So this is the last straw, that is breaking the camel's back, okay? Like when the health secretary, Sajid Javid, was in his resignation speech in the House of Commons today, said that, look, the performance of a team, right, when the captain of a team is not good, right, it affects the team, okay? So this sums up, the credibility gap, that deficit that Boris has, okay? He's always been known to be very economical with the truth, right? So that's, what is going to prove, his downfall, eventually.
Thank you so